So a few weeks ago, we experienced one of the most anticipated, cataclysmic, long-awaited, 4 years in the making event, the Bitcoin halving. Well, since then, Bitcoin has gone down, altcoins have been bleeding, and the sentiment in the market has went from euphoria and greed to now fear pretty much everywhere. Now look, at the time of filming this video, Bitcoin has now dropped below $60,000, and it seems like every day that passes is another day we see altcoins go even lower in price. Now, depending on where you look, some will say it's over, they'll clickbait with the sell all, it's time to dump everything and run for the hills during this crypto market crash, while others are going to continue to be moon boys, claiming that it's only up from here. But the truth is, you can respect both bull and bear market arguments and understand that you can still make money in these markets. And I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do that in this video here. So I know it's been several weeks since I last uploaded a video on this channel here. Well, a lot has happened in my own life outside of crypto because, yes, I know, at most people's surprise, I do also have a life outside of crypto. It may not be the most interesting life, but yes, a life indeed. Now, I'll share some more details about that towards the end of this video, but for now, here's what you'll get. We're going to kick this video off by first going into the details on why Bitcoin has dumped as much as it did, and I'll be explaining to you why you shouldn't be worried. Next, I'll share with you what we need to see happen for this bull market to continue and why I believe there is still a lot more potential to go. From here, I'll be sharing with you my very own predictions on what I believe is going to happen in the market next. After that, we're going to then go into more of the macros and the strategies on how you can make money in this current bull run. Most importantly, I'm going to share with you the crypto narratives that are going to pick up and just start to run as soon as Bitcoin is able to stabilize. It's from within those that I believe we're going to be seeing the 5 to 10x altcoin gems like we have in the last few months. Last but not least, as always, I have some final words of wisdom to wrap everything up towards the last section of this video. So first of all, markets have clearly been going down ever since the Bitcoin halving, and there's a lot of theories. So in short, it's these 7 reasons. As mentioned in all of our previous videos, what we're experiencing right now is the post-halving market correction. All right, so why has the market been going down? Well, in a short summary, number one, after every halving event, we always get a drawdown period before we end up seeing even more explosive gain. This happened in the last halving cycle, the halving cycle even before that, and even the one before that too. Now, a lot of new investors are confused because generally when we have a halving event, you would assume right away Bitcoin should start going up because we see Bitcoin's supply then getting cut in half. Based on the principles of economics, if there is less supply and higher demand, we should be able to see prices increase. Now, in the reality of any case, here's what normally happens. Bitcoin is still seen more as a trader's asset where people are buying solely with the intention of making money. Bitcoin is not used as this hedge against inflation or just a way to curve the balance sheet or even used right now as backup collateral just in case the dollar or any large currency that is traded in the world collapses. With that in mind, even with the whole Bitcoin ETF that we had success on, many people who bought in towards the top who are seeing profit in their portfolio started to take their money out knowing that a big catalyst like this was coming up. This here is a pattern that we see on the macro scale with different altcoins to even on the higher level with Bitcoin every single year. Anytime we see a giant catalyst coming up, something that everyone was looking forward to at a single point in a year, it's usually where we see a necessary correction follow that. Very rarely have we had any cycle where we've continued to see an asset only go up. Now, the good news here is the drawdown that we see happen after the halving event has lined up with previous market cycles. The benefit this year around is that we have even more institutional access to these assets where if we end up seeing Bitcoin drop down below even $50,000, my bet is that these institutions, all of them retirement, old wrinkle dollars, they're going to come in and they're going to be nudging each other saying, oh, look, Bitcoin just came down 30-40%. I think this is going to be a good time for us to load up to hold for a long period of time. Right now, the drawdown that we're currently experiencing is still well within the means of a normal chart pattern headed towards a euphoric bull run with the goal of Bitcoin still hitting $100,000 or $150,000 by the end of this year. Now, outside of this post-halving retracement, there are still a variety of different factors that play into why Bitcoin has not been doing well. Number one, the S&P 500. The US stock market has been doing pretty well since the start of this year. If we pull the charts out to the last 5 years, you'll notice that it's still at an all-time high, except within literally the last month, we've been seeing a pullback or a correction also happening there. Now, I've mentioned this in nearly every video, and that's because of how important it is. And if there's any one single correlator on what affects the price of Bitcoin and crypto and even all of our altcoin bags, simply put, it's just how the S&P 500 tends to perform. Look, I would love for it to be a point where crypto diverges from the S&P 500, but that still just isn't the case. The S&P 500 in the last 1 month has gone down in price. Now, it isn't a significant sell-off, and this is also happening because of the talks of war all around the world with Israel, with Ukraine. Even here in the US, I saw 4 different videos of all these college campuses having riots and what seems like just mass instability all across the world. Now, this year is just a reminder, though, in every single year, at least since I've been born and as long as I can remember, we have always been in talks of war. There have always been different things, whether it was with North Korea, Iraq. And look, if I was born 30 years earlier, I would have even known about the Vietnam War, which really, frankly, wasn't too long ago. So this year is nothing new, okay? Even 10 years ago, we still had talks of nuclear warfare and a lot of fear that got spread among everyone. Now, although there's been several instances of wars happening throughout our lifetime, it simply doesn't help the markets. And it can create more fear, which at its root is like a seed that ends up growing into a plant that bears even more negative fruit. Outside of that, the next biggest reason why the markets aren't doing well is simply just because inflation is not under control. Simply put, inflation is pretty much the everyday items we get. Back in the day, I can go to McDonald's and buy a McChicken for $1. If you go to some parts of the US, that same $1 McChicken will now cost you $4, $5, or even $6. This year's inflation, literally everything we need to buy, whether it's groceries or the gas for the car or even the apartment that you're looking to rent, it all increases in price. This year is because of all the money that we printed. It's all the stimulus checks we got, all the free unemployment money, all that PPP business funding, all that free money that we had during the pandemic and the lockdown is now having its ripple effect of how it affects us today. So we thought this year inflation was going to be under control, things were going to go down because interest rates went up so much in the last year during the bear market. Well, it turns out inflation is not going down without a fight, and this is where interest rates, right now, they're not getting cut, they're just holding at where they're at. And this here isn't the best news if we're trying to find success in the market because it makes borrowing money more expensive, thus making things like buying cars or buying homes a lot more difficult for people to do, which actually prevents the economy from growing. With interest rates being as high as they are, and even talks of a looming recession that we've had for many, many years, this year creates additional fear in the market. And we're seeing this not even on the retail level, but even within institutions. So spot Bitcoin ETFs debuted in the US on January 11th. And to date, BlackRock, which is the largest ETF so far, also known as IBIT, has alone amassed more than $15 billion, while the other 11 different ETF funds have together registered an inflow of over $12 billion. Now, in recent news, April was actually the toughest month so far for Bitcoin ETFs. There were even some days where we saw no inflow going in at all. This means the amount of volume of people who are actually selling their ETF and the people who are buying were at one point 50-50, balanced out. Now, with all that said, when we get pullbacks like this and we have that aroma of fear just surrounding all around us, and you could feel it in that group chat that you have with your friends, this here, more often than not, are the opportunities where you can onboard that train once more before it takes off again. It's in these moments where weak paper hands will fold, people will get shaken out and sidelined, and for any of you who are able to just buckle in, stay in for the ride, your time of the awaited promised lands that we look forward to in crypto could be much sooner than you expect. Folks, let me be clear here. Market shakeouts like this allow for us to resume additional momentum. In the last bull cycle, we had severe drawdowns. We experienced a tremendous second leg up where even with any of the gains that you may have lost out on, you're able to recover, if not make even more money during that next half. Most importantly, we're able to now get even more new investors sitting on the sideline to enter crypto at a better price. Now, if there's any kind of shakeout or drawdown that we saw within the market, this right here is moving play by play to what I would expect, lining up for still one of the best bull markets that we have yet to see. Now, even in the last week, we saw one of my highest conviction picks, Aerodrome, which ended up topping at around $2.30, going as low as under 90 cents through this shakeout. Now, here's the thing. I noticed that a lot of newer investors, where this is your first crypto cycle, tend to get a lot more emotional, especially when they got way too over leveraged in the last several weeks. Look, if you were able to enter Aerodrome at pre-20 cents, which is what I and a lot of our Kaizen members did, even right now with where the price is at, you still have made over 500% in gains. Any crypto where you're able to make at least 2,000% in returns or a 20x, you have to assume that when there is a shakeout or when we see a market pullback, a correction like this is completely normal. Now, I'll go into more detail on that later with some of our other picks, but I just want to emphasize this. Even during the last bull market, which on paper is the best bull market that we ever had, we still didn't see crypto going up every single month. Just like then, I believe the market is still similar, but we're gonna have these periods of growth and we're gonna have periods of things cooling down. My favorite example and analogy that we've shared before on this channel that still holds true is similar to just treating crypto as if you're a seasoned farmer. So similar to how a farmer doesn't just sit and watch his crops grow all day and night, he will go ahead, he'll reap in the right seasons, and he'll sow in the right seasons. Similar to being an investor, there are gonna be moments where your investment goes up, it yields fruit, you can harvest that fruit, and there are other times where you're not gonna see the crop, or some of the crops may even die, but you'll know that just by being patient, it will still grow. Look, unless you're a farmer who has no long-term vision, the last thing you're gonna wanna do is just sit around and just stare. It's what I've been seeing a lot of new investors do. They've been watching crypto going down. They're just staring at their phones. They're getting those alerts, and it ends up brainwashing you thinking that every single day it's going to go down even lower than where it is. If you are doing that, be conscious of it. In a bull run, we're so acclimated to looking at positive numbers, all that cash coming in. But in a season where the markets are correcting, unless you have firepower that you're ready to deploy, there is no need for you to constantly be staring at your charts if it's not going to make you feel any better. I think it's so easy for us to get caught up in the short term of all that happens within these markets. Even for me, it feels like it was just less than a year ago when we were still in the pandemic. We were trying to short squeeze AMC and GameStop stock. We had the first ever crypto bull run experiencing with all the retail investors. We were going into Dogecoin and all these degenerate different meme coins at the time. And it's been several years from that time, and I still don't remember the small positions that I ended up selling. Just like in this example here, 5 to 10 years from now, I bet you won't remember why you had sold if you'd sold in fear. This here is just a good reminder for anyone who is still new to crypto to really just reflect on the goals that you're trying to accomplish. Unless you really need the money tomorrow, I see every single one of the plays that I've at least mentioned or bought into have longevity and growth within this market. Too often we overthink and want to predict the next 10 moves when in reality, we can just relax, trust in God, and based on how we've seen the market move in the last cycle, you could even delete the app, not check for 6 months, and I bet that you could even be a whole lot higher than if you were to sell at the bottom now and then watch all the market just recover while you now have zero exposure. Now, if you are more of a seasoned investor, you've been around for a few cycles, that's probably not what I wouldn't do. I would just continue to learn. I would continue to educate yourself and build upon the narratives that we've seen have success. If you're a complete new investor, you're not able to sleep, you have constant anxiety just because of how volatile the markets are, then I would recommend the latter strategy of just tuning everything out. I've known a lot of people who are beginners in the market, and the ones that ended up losing the most amount of money are the ones that got shaken out and they ended up selling literally during times like this. Funny enough, I even have a friend who doesn't know much about crypto. He ended up buying a few random projects here and there. He lost the password to his Coinbase account, and it turns out it ended up being 5x of what he had put in from the previous cycle. Now look, by the time this video goes up, the market could have already recovered or Bitcoin could have slid down to $50,000. Regardless, if you still understand the grand scale of where crypto is headed in terms of mass future adoption, you would understand this short-term volatility still means nothing. Now look, if we even get to the core root of the problem where you're looking at your portfolio, you're feeling the fear, you're feeling the red, you get so much regret knowing that you were planning to sell just a few weeks ago and you could have locked in an extra $10,000 or $100,000 or more, but you didn't. Here's what I'll say. In the last few months, I saw a $100,000 portfolio go as high as close to $3 million at the peak. Since then, I've seen it draw down over $1 million. So in the last week, I've literally lost over 7 figures. But if I even take a moment to zoom out, I never would have expected myself to even see amounts like that early on in the cycle. This year was also a huge learning lesson for me too. I was able to hit my profit goals really fast, but I ended up changing it even quicker. I told myself, well, if I was able to make a couple mil, why not make 10 mil, 20 mil, 50 mil? And even with the brutal lessons that I learned from the previous bull run, I found myself getting caught up in even more feelings of greed. So in this slower season, just take caution and use it as a learning lesson on what you can do for this next leg up. During this drawdown period, if you're able to use it to your advantage, where you're able to reflect or really recognize what financial goals are good enough for you to hit this cycle, you can use the second half of this football match to make the winning play. Think of the first half of this game as if you're getting your warm up in, getting those reps, you scored a few goals, we're now at the halftime, and within halftime, you're now able to reflect on all the mistakes that you made and the things that you can do better for this next leg up. So first of all, if you feel any emotions, it's because you were overexposed. It means you put more money into the market, or your portfolio grew even higher and you got to a point where you knew you should have sold, but you didn't. If that's the case, I would still personally wait it out. I do expect for us to see even more green days, but if you had made multiple 20x plays and you only went down like 40-50% on some of them, if you can cash out today and still lock in 1,000% or even 500% returns, I'd say that is a considerable win. Everyone is in different situations, everyone has different price targets and different risk tolerances too. The most important thing is, if you're new to this market and you're about to FOMO in, don't go all in at once. You can average into the market, and most importantly, I've seen some stories of this. Please do not take loans out from family members or friends to buy it into crypto that you still don't have a full understanding of. For anyone who's been sidelined, I believe this here is a great opportunity to now buy in at a discounted price. And for my other group, which is along the lines of what I am in, if you're still up long term, regardless of if the bull run is finally over or not, if you're still invested into crypto, knowing the long-term implication, I believe, unless you truly think that this is now the bear market, the market really has crashed, that was the absolute top, that was all the money that could have gone in, then it would make sense to sell. I personally have a stronger conviction that the bull run is still here, but right now we are drawing down in a strong consolidation and correction. So my prediction is this: I bet we'll see some short-term recovery, but I still think the next few weeks or even months could still be rather sideways. If we get any more bad news, we could definitely see Bitcoin dropping down to $50,000, and I believe this here is where we could see strong support. Now keep in mind, if you go on Twitter or somewhere else on the internet and you see people saying, oh, Bitcoin is going to crash to $16,000 or $20,000, just know that whenever these accounts put out a lot of this fear-mongering content, they get even more engagement because it's what people tend to click the most. It's the same exact tactic and strategy that mainstream media does, where they highlight all the bad and they make things look even worse than it really is. It's because they're going to be able to get more eyeballs, more clicks, and more money at the end of the day in their pocket. So when you see people claiming that the market is going to crash, we're going to see Bitcoin go down to $5,000, there's a lot of this type of external fear that's going to come in that you're going to have to learn to push out and ignore. Now, I believe there is more than enough sideline money for us to see crypto hit new all-time highs with the market cap and for us to go even higher than we ever have before. Let's still not forget the Bitcoin halving. That is an actual event where we have seen an adjustment in the supply of crypto now that we have even more access, and different countries like China and the US with ETFs having that rampway for even more money and liquidity to come into the market. So here's how I'm going to prepare for the next leg up. I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow, after I post this video, a week from now, a month from now, but I'm even more excited that if we see the markets coming down, we're going to get an even better discounted price. We're going to have new money coming in, which is going to be able to hold these assets for a longer time. Once Bitcoin is able to stabilize, and I'm not even saying we need Bitcoin to rally and break new all-time highs again. I'm just saying if it stabilizes, these narratives that I'm going to talk about, I believe are just going to resume as if it was on a commercial break and we just continue to see things rip once more. Now, I'm so confident in these narratives and in these plays that regardless of what Bitcoin is doing, when you see good short-term price action on some of these projects, you can get in knowing that there is utility that will allow the projects to survive more long-term throughout the full duration of what we have in store for this bull run. So the first narrative that we've been talking about, which we've been hitting, which I still believe has enough catalyst events to continue propping up the market, is Base. If you don't know a single thing about Base and you haven't watched any of my previous videos, make sure you watch it there. So number one, even during this cycle, I don't think Solana, I don't think Avalanche or Cardano, frankly, I don't think any of these Ethereum killers are going to be able to replace Ethereum in any sort of way. I believe that Ethereum is going to continue to get used, especially with the talks of the SEC investigating it, trying to legitimize the asset, and seeing the potentials of the Ethereum ETF still possibly getting rolled out this year. So Ethereum is what we call in crypto a layer 1, and a layer 2 pretty much is like the upgraded version of Ethereum. It uses Ethereum, but it improves upon all the shortcomings that it has. Now, Base is empowered and funded by Coinbase. It's what I'd consider to be the Apple of crypto. It's where you can continue to on on-ramp your money, you can off-ramp it, and it's going to make it so much easier for retail to continue entering this market. Coinbase has over 80 million users that are ready to get onboarded, and right now Base is developing something called the Coinbase Smart Wallet. This Coinbase Smart Wallet is not just a catalyst event, but I believe this is truly going to be the update that's going to allow for more retail to come in. If we understand that Coinbase is truly dominating these markets right now, and it's how most new retail is going to enter the scene, one of the first things that they'll probably get exposure to is the entire Base ecosystem. Don't forget, Coinbase posted a blog many years ago about the Coinbase Secret Master Plan. This expands outside of crypto and even goes into real world assets. It goes into really unifying the traditional finance sector with what we've seen happen within the crypto space. Now, here's what's been awesome about Base. Up until the recent market pullback, Base has had some of the most record-breaking amount of funds getting locked into this chain. Base currently has $1.39 billion locked in, where there are still plenty of other chains out here that have nearly double or triple the amount that Base has locked up. Now, here's where I'm extra bullish on Base. Notice that their TVL, their total value locked, is at $1.39 billion. I truly believe that Base is going to be the biggest chain. And if we compare them to the likes of Blast, which was known for having a ton of different difficulties, people getting hacked, a lot of scam projects, Arbitrum, which has been around for a while, Solana, which actually has some of the most common and frequent transaction failures happen within a network, Binance Smart Chain, which still has over $5 billion locked, Tron has nearly $8 billion locked. There's still clearly opportunity for Base to continue expanding. Now, in order to get exposure to Base, because Base does not have a token, they would if the SEC was not down the throats of Coinbase. This here would be Aerodrome. It's why we've mentioned Aerodrome so frequently on this channel, and if you are interested in buying Aerodrome anywhere at over $2 or $1.50, this drawdown right now is one of the best sales that I've seen in a very long time. Anytime Aerodrome goes down under $1, it could be the last and final time we ever see anyone being able to buy it at this rate. Now, if we compare Aerodrome to another DEX like Uniswap, you can really see just how crazy the potential on that run up could be. Even PancakeSwap had a massive leg up, had the drawdown, and even still during the second leg up, it was able to hit over $24. I'm still bullish on the fact that if the cycle plays out the way that I expect it to, there's no reason we shouldn't see a $5 to $10 Aerodrome. Aerodrome is one of the few tokens that are fair launch. There was no VC investors. It's available on Coinbase to buy, and it's still one of the largest plays where if you are bullish on Coinbase in any way, this is how you would get exposure. Now, what's interesting is Aerodrome made an update. It was called Slipstream, and since then, they had new all-time highs in volumes and fees. They're very comparable to the growth that we've seen Uniswap experience, especially in the early days. And since then, Aerodrome has only been going down. Now, I know better days are coming. I do think this is going to be one of the last few times that we can see Aerodrome at these prices. And I do believe that the next leg up could be truly violent. Now, the one downside of Aerodrome is the fact that the market cap has grown pretty substantially since we first mentioned it. It's already at over $450 million, and the fully diluted market cap is at $1 billion. This means we are going to need to see more volume coming in, but with the success of Coinbase and seeing how much Base has expanded, I'm still certain that a near short-term $2 to $3 test is very possible. Now, keep in mind, we got into Base at around the 10 to 20 cent level. Even now, I'm still holding majority of my bag, but we actually found another Base exposure play that went completely under the radar. Now, this here is Seam. Seam has a fraction of the market cap. It's currently at $70 million. It's available for you to buy on Coinbase. And the importance of that is the fact that a lot of new retail get into crypto, they don't know how to operate Uniswap or the Coinbase wallet or even know what a MetaMask is. So if it's available on Coinbase, this is where those new retail investors are able to access these picks even more. All right, so Seamless is actually the first Base native token ever listed on Coinbase. This here is also fair launch, no private investors, and it started out as a lending and borrowing platform, and they saw an opportunity on Base to be the first native and just went for it. The contributors on Seamless are ex-Coinbase, ex-Uniswap, ex-MakerDAO, 1inch and more. They have an A+ team. There's no worry about VC dumps on this. And most importantly, there hasn't been a full Base pump on it either. So I believe Seamless is going to be a solid play. It's been flying underneath the radar. Its market cap is still at a fraction of a lot of these other Base plays that have pumped. And there were other plays, as an example, Moonwell, where it was already pumping up way too much. I didn't feel good about buying at the top, but you can just tell from the charts here on when Bitcoin stabilizes how violent some of these Base plays can pump. Keep in mind too, Moonwell right now, it's about the same same market cap. It already had its pump, and it's not even available for you to buy on Coinbase. You have to use a decentralized exchange or any one of these third-party exchanges. Now, look, if you get into SEAM at this point, you're actually getting a better buy entry than I did because I bought in at around $5. I'm down just a little bit on my investment, but even when they had launched, they had come out at over $10, hitting even $14 at one point, and I believe $15 to $20 target for Seamless is still very viable. I talked earlier about the Coinbase wallet. This here is going to be revolutionary. And when they do release and there is a DEX of choice that they decide to go with. Now, when the Coinbase Smart Wallet rolls out, I believe these base plays that we're talking about are going to be exposed even more to your native crypto user. This means even plays like Seamless, a DeFi protocol that has not yet really established true ground within the entire base ecosystem. This here could easily be a play once Bitcoin starts pumping for this to hit at least a 5x. Now, remember, we need crypto to stabilize before we see anything take off. But I would definitely add this to your watch list and keep an eye out on it. Charts look prime in my opinion. I do think a $6 to $8 seam is gonna happen at some point, and we should have definitely seen a $10 seam if the market conditions were ripe enough. Now, the second narrative, which I believe right now is still very early on, and it has a huge potential of blowing up even past base, is gonna be RWAs, also known as real world assets. In my last video from several weeks ago, we talked about the potential of real world assets, and this all started up from BlackRock, more specifically the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, making one of the boldest statements ever, and that is that ETFs are just a stepping stone towards tokenizing the world. Now, for anyone who doesn't understand tokenization, this here is in the context of just crypto and how blockchain technology works, where everything goes on a public ledger. You can see all the transactions, the world sees it, and this here is powerful because right now in traditional finance, everything is protected with walls. You don't want to see the transactions. The banks don't want to tell you the info. They have their own underwriters that are going to judge you based on your credit score or the tax returns that you submit. And as someone who's right now going through that process, let me tell you, it is so limiting. There are so many unnecessary steps. And this is where cryptocurrency and blockchain technology can truly shine. I believe what Larry Fink envisions in terms of tokenization for the world spans outside of just general finance. This includes things like real estate, where you have a piece of paper to prove that you own something. What about if you have it uploaded into the blockchain where everyone can see that you can verify? And this is where we had mentioned plays like in the last video, such as Proppy and more. Now, here's the thing about the RWA narrative. It's going to take a little bit more time for this to develop. This is mainly because it's going to take so much work for us to actually see the entire movement of tokenizing the world. With that said, the process of this has started. They are in the works. It's just a matter of time to see how far they can get. One project that is pushing the boundaries even further is Ondo. This here is institutional grade finance now on chain. They have BlackRock listed as a partner. They have a ton of other companies that are well known within the space, even including Goldman Sachs as their leadership, where we're really seeing the traditional finance merge within the crypto markets. Now, the great part is Ondo also has a token here on Coinbase, but the one downside and why I have not invested is because of how large their market cap is. Ondo currently has a market cap of over $1 billion. What's fascinating though, even amidst this crypto market crash, they've been holding like a rock. This here is also a benefit that I've seen happen with many of our plays, where even amidst where everything is going down 30, 40, 50%, some of these projects just tend to hold. Ondo is one of them. If you take a look at the 1 year, you'll notice just how strong it's consolidating. The 70-cent level is a support level that looks like it's made out of vibranium. But here's the thing, when we see crypto projects that have a large market cap like this, the upside is far limited compared to finding some of these alternative plays that are still within the $100 million market cap. This is because if you want to see a $1.50 Ondo, you're going to need an extra $1 billion of volume going in. So this is where I found two plays, which coincidentally also have very similar names, TrueFi and Trueflation. So TrueFi is the ticker symbol TRUE. This one is also available to buy on Coinbase. They have a $109 million market cap. I see them having much higher potential. You'll notice that in the previous bull run back in 2021, they hit a peak of near 71 cents. Since then, we haven't had that kind of movement. It's sitting at less than 10 cents, meaning there's at least a 7x upside here if it returns back to the previous all-time high levels. Now, this one is backed by some of the largest VC funds in the world. Now, it turns out after doing some further research on tokenomics and the lockup period, it looks like the charts showing this descent right here from the 2021 bull run includes a lot of VC VCs, I believe, taking profit on this project. Since then, throughout the bear market, we've seen this project be completely flat. There hasn't been an extra pump, and I think there is huge potential for this to go to the upside. So TrueFi also unveiled some plans that they would be starting a real-world asset-based lending platform called Trinity to boost the utility for all the tokenized US Treasury offerings. Trinity is going to allow users to take out crypto loans using tokenized RWAs as collateral. TrueFi's Treasury Bill token, TF Bill, will be the first, with plans to add other yield-generating tokenized products in the future. Now, I do see this project having potential when the market conditions get right, but just keep in mind, there was a lot more VC investing. I believe that they mostly sold off, but it's not 100% verified. Now, between these two projects, if I were to choose where to allocate my bags, I believe Truflation actually has even stronger potential without that huge risk of a VC unlock, only because they just recently dropped their token. They were first discovered as one of the first base ecosystem funded projects. They're currently at 46 cents. In the last month, it'll say it's up 400%. That's just because of the token launch. But if we take a look at the last 7 days with the market being red, it's at 46 cents. It's down about 15%. Not terrible at all. It would have been nice for us to see a better deal opening up. But I believe Truflation has the potential of at least hitting a couple dollars in this cycle. Now, according to their tokenomics, they do have VC investors. But as you can see on your screen, the vesting schedule on this is very fair. And more than that, I believe Truflation actually has some of the most utility amongst all the different plays that we've mentioned. So first of all, Truflation ties in with the whole decentralized infrastructure for real world assets. They are backed by Coinbase, by Chainlink, and in this whole narrative of turning real world assets into something on chain, Truflation here is going to be the bridge connecting all of that. With Truflation being backed by Chainlink, and even if you scroll down on their website, Brian Armstrong, CEO of Truflation, also mentioned that this here is an awesome project. And by the way, one thing's for certain, and it's just more and more people are losing faith in the government. If you happen to fit within that group as well, this here is one of the plays where you can take different data where they're unbiased and they're able to reveal to us what numbers can actually mean. Right now is presidential election year. Biden's going to do everything in his power to stay in office. And by the way, all the people that he put in their positions now, they're going to want to help him too. If this means they show some kind of data, maybe they don't falsify completely, but they only show one perspective, or for inflation, they show just one single micro group within the most random city in the states that happens to have higher inflation, just so that they don't let interest rates get cut even more, all for the purpose of just getting Biden to get reelected for another year. If I could say it in this capacity like this, there's a strong chance it could also be happening. Now, out of all the projects I've mentioned, this is one of the newest ones that have released. There still hasn't been a massive pump on this. Instead, it's actually been going down. And I believe this here is opening up one of the best buying opportunities for us to still get in early before Truflation hits $3 or even $5 once the rally really begins to pick up. They fit well within the whole real world asset narrative. They have utility. They are backed by Coinbase. They are available on Coinbase's exchange, and they only recently came out with a less than $100 million market cap with solid tokenomics that show that VC won't be able to dump because of how early on it is within their vesting schedule. With that being said, the third narrative that I think has a higher chance of blowing up even faster, just because the use case that this has within crypto is so strong, this here is decentralized social media. Now look, I have been a little bit bearish in the past on decentralized social media. I told myself, look, I already got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. There's no way I'm gonna download another fourth or fifth app. And this was until I downloaded the fourth or fifth app, and then I saw the use case there, and I saw the appeal of having a separate community like crypto Twitter, not being on Twitter or X or whatever you call it. And instead, it's on a crypto native app where I was getting even more alpha and feeling more of that community sense to make money in these markets. This is where one of the plays that we bought into was DGen. That play hit a quick, I believe 4, 5, or 6x for us in the community. And there's still huge potential there. Now, we're definitely going to need Bitcoin to stabilize. We're definitely going to need base and that whole narrative to also stabilize. And then I think we can see DGen and anything inside of that chain, including Zora and other layer 3s, to go up in value. Now, the one thing about DGen is that it has already had its pump. Oftentimes in crypto, when we have one leg up, unless we are in phase 2 of this bull run. We got all mass new retail money coming in. It could be difficult for us to test that previous all-time high, but you never know. We could see it maybe even going to 10 or 25 cents. But one thing you want to keep in mind is just the size of the market cap. Now, right now, at the time of filming this video, I think 1 cent right here looks to be an absolute steal. There is use case with DGen. This is on paper a meme coin, but there is real utility behind it. It's used as liquidity for some of these other apps like Warpcast or Farcaster, Dracula, the decentralized version of TikTok, and more. Now, I personally didn't even think Dracula, which was the decentralized TikTok, to have any kind of play in this market. But when you hear on the news that TikTok is getting banned, the United States government really doesn't want them around, then people may look for the next alternative. And if it's not Instagram Reels and it's not any of these other social media companies that we have, it could be a crypto company next. Now, if you truly want to get in on a play super early, something that's not out yet, at least at the time of me filming, this here is going to be Friend. So the Friend token is part of Friend Tech. Right now, they have not released version 2. It is coming out soon. It'll probably be up by the time this video is actually up. And when version 2 of Friend Tech comes out and the Friend token drops, I believe that token has a potential to do extremely well. Now, right now, we don't have tokenomics. We don't know who's going to get airdrop what. We don't know market cap, supply, nothing. This here is just speculation off the fact that I signed up. I've used Friend Tech. I have an account, by the way, and you guys can all create an account too if you get an invite code. And it's the one decentralized social media project outside of DGen that is within the base ecosystem. All right, so what Friend Tech is very simple. You sign up for it, you have an account, you have your profile, and other people can buy your keys. So if I pull up my page right now, so the more people who buy your keys, the higher the key price goes. It's very similar to the way an NFT works, which is a giant pyramid. Really, it is a giant pyramid. Now, this here is the most valuable if you happen to be a content creator or if you have really good alpha. This is because you're given a group chat. If someone buys your key, they're able to hold on to it, and more people buy in, their key goes up in price. Back when I made the first tweet about this, my key was sitting at 0.47 ETH. Currently, even with this whole market correction, my key is still sitting at 1.1 ETH. So if you wanted to buy my key, to go ahead and join my group chat where I share even more alpha or degenerate plays, or where I give away free lifetime Kaizen memberships by chance, or even give you access to merch and more. That's not even the benefit. The benefit is we actually saw on the leaderboard for Friend Tech on just random Twitter accounts that were sitting at 5.85 ETH. Now, I personally believe that we can easily take the #1 spot on Friend Tech. I believe this new update that's coming out is going to make this even better of a platform. So this means if anyone bought in at 1 ETH right now, they waited till it hit 5 ETH, you'd be turning $3,000 into over $15,000 there. Now, what's fascinating is I'm currently number 26 on Friend Tech. I don't know any single YouTuber out here with an audience this size who has mentioned this. So I personally believe with all the value and the benefits that go in here, and with where the bull market is headed and seeing the updates that they have coming out and their partnership lined up with Base, there are many ways you can get exposure. One thing I definitely recommend is you at least get onto the platform, try it out. You never know who's going to buy your key. And if you have good info that you're sharing yourself, you could also see the price go up. Now, the benefit here is this. If someone buys your key, you end up collecting those trading fee commissions. It's similar to how if an artist releases an NFT, usually the artist gets 2 or 5% back in trading fee commission. So the more people that buy this up, you get the dividends of that trading fee. Their asset goes up until at least the top of the market comes in. Now, look, all this stuff is very skeptical. I believe that you can definitely put your money into other more liquid assets, but you can buy and sell a key very easily. And I've already seen a ton of people actually being able to make quite a profit from this. Big thing is you don't want to buy a key into a creator that you aren't really sure about, or if they're not really going to be that active on this platform. With all that being said, I want it to be a bit more inactive for about the last week here to shake out anyone that we can, to make sure that you guys are able to get in at the best price. Now, I don't recommend anyone buying this. I don't. This is all very speculative stuff. If people don't find value in Friend Tech, or if all my holders decide to sell, obviously the value of this would go down. Regardless, they are coming out with the Friend token. We don't know the details of it yet, but I believe this could be an early play that you could also look out for. Now, there is one more project that has not yet launched a token that I'm going to be keeping an eye out on. This here is called Anzin. This here is another real world asset play. It's backed by institutional grade private credit. And I don't even think this token is going to come out for another few months, but I want to give you guys all as much early alpha as I can here. Now, the Anzin protocol is going to launch on May 9th. We still don't have clarity on the tokenomics. I am super bullish on this project. They're also looking to collaborate with Aerodrome, and I just believe that if the market continues to pick up and by the time they launch their token, this could also have huge potential. Now, I love this project so much. I'm even looking to get onboarded as a contributor or just finding some kind of way I could partner up before they come out with that launch. If there's anything I can do to get you guys whitelist or early access alpha, I will be mentioning it in our Discord over at Kaizen First. All right, to close this video out, here are the words of wisdom towards this video. One book that I've been loving lately, still in the Old Testament, is the book of Kings. More specifically, 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 7. Now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, so give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people. If you don't know who King Solomon is, he was the third king of Israel, and he was considered to be one of the wisest and wealthiest men anyone has ever seen. Now, here's the thing. King Solomon experienced more blessings and abundance in riches than anyone would have ever expected. There were other powerful individuals from different neighboring countries that were coming to visit just to see the empire that he had built. Now, here's the thing. Even with his abundance and blessings and his wisdom that he had carried, he had still succumbed at the end of failing his mission. Eventually, all the abundance that he had wanted turned into wanting more. This year turned into pure greed. King Solomon started his journey with favor from God. Towards the end of his life, he was unable to control his greed. He had thousands of wives. He gave into all the worldly pleasures. And when he died a version of himself far less than who he began his journey as. Now, I believe generational wealth will be made this year to the right people who are able to control that greed. I know it's difficult for us to give into all the worldly pleasures and all the thing that crypto can promise us. But one verse that truly resonates with me a lot is this: what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? This year is just a reminder. If you get the wisdom, you get the abundance, you make the right moves in this market, don't be like King Solomon. You end up just getting overly greedy because you could lose it all. It's a reminder to be humble about the money that you can make, set those goals accordingly like we mentioned earlier on in this video, and overall, have faith and trust in God to lead you through this journey. All right, so ladies and gents, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to drop a like down below. If you're looking for a non-KYC exchange to use in order to have access to some of these plays outside of Coinbase, check out Blowfin. Blowfin's reserves are one-to-one backed. They also have robust security with Fireblock, which is the best-in-class custodian used by Coinbase, and it's not stored with the exchange themselves. They are running a promo. I'm going to mention that down below in the description, so if you guys want to check them out, look for a new non-KYC exchange. We also have that available there. Aside from that, guys, Kaizen has still been on a wait list for the last several months. And through these market times, if you find that you're too emotional, you need that support, you want to have a community that can lift you up, we have that there. I would love for you guys to join the community if you really want to take crypto seriously. We've recently had over 5,000 members join. It's been a blast in there. And I believe that the ROI is there in you being able to develop that market edge and to also assist you in helping you make more money than if you were doing all of this bull market activities by yourself. Thank you all so much again for watching. Take care. And until next time, we done.